In the news this week, emotional tributes pouring in as WA remembers Aishwarya Ashworth after tragic medical bungle.
A small business owner is claiming Western Power's negligence cost him over $60,000. A WAMN News exclusive.
He's back. Prime Minister Scott Morrison lands in WA in first trip to the state in 18 months.
Reporter Kit Sanders' special analysis on the Prime Minister's visit, plus Dr. Andrew Miller's comment.
This is the Evening News with Ivan Leung and Sarah Smith.
Good evening. An emotional vigil went underway to remember Aishwarya Ashworth, the 7-year-old girl who died after spending 2 hours waiting for treatment at the Perth Children's Hospital.
Tribute and tears flowed at Parliament House as participants lit candles to remember a young life lost too soon.
An emotional candlelight vigil at Parliament House, a loud and clear message about WA's crumbling public health system. 7-year-old Aishwarya Ashworth has passed away during the long Easter weekend after spending more than 2 hours waiting for treatment in the emergency department in Perth's Children's Hospital. Tonight, tears and tributes are flowing at Parliament as the grieving family continued their push for answers. On Saturday, close to 100 people attended Aishwarya's memorial service before an emotional burial later in the morning.
I think that we should focus entirely on just giving this little girl an appropriate farewell and also engaging with the father and the mother, Ashworth and Prasita, to just say to them that we're here for them if they need us.
Shirish Rajan, President of the Ethnic Communities Council in WA, spoke on behalf of the grieving family. He also highlighted cultural issues regarding the handling of Aishwarya's incident.
So 5 days we had no idea, no one in the family knew where the body was. And the only reason we found out was because we went back to the CEO of the hospital and asked him, and he didn't know where it was either. So there's a breakdown in the systems that occur on that side that needs to be attended to. It was 10 days before they were allowed to view the body. That's also inappropriate. There are Hindu ceremonies that are conducted around the body on the day of her passing. That didn't happen. So we've ignored all the cultural issues. We've ignored all the religious issues. We've ignored all the diversity issues. That's unacceptable.
The Health Minister, Roger Cook, has called for an urgent inquiry into the case. But for the family, the agonising wait for closure about their daughter's death continues. Negligence is what one Western Power customer is claiming after energy dips cost its business nearly $60,000. A print shop in Bibracles Lake has been dealing with variable energy supply for months, and the owner says he's going out of business if the issue remains unsolved. Helene Fong with this exclusive report.
Bruno Christovale runs a small print shop in Bibracles Lake. Small business isn't easy at the best of times, but Bruno's store has struggled with electrical issues since moving to the Bibracles Lake location. Safety checks on all his equipment and new wiring didn't stop the random dips in energy supply.
So machines cut out, they stop during production. Unfortunately, the machine behind me, the head runs on electricity. It could fry out the circuits, so it puts stress on the hard disk. So you've lost your time, your materials, your labour, and then the turnarounds. The most disappointing thing is the turnarounds for clients, and we're just, we're in a bad state.
When Bruno first called Western Power, they didn't think it was anything unusual. But a second inspector found that a business up the road was drawing more power than it should be. Bruno's down $60,000 through lost revenue and machinery costs from the variable power supply. He says his business will only survive another few months if nothing changes. The insurance, on the other hand, doesn't seem to cover this issue.
It's anxiety, stress, you name it, depression. It's just so damaging.
It is concerning to hear that there have been a number of cases. It's quite clear the government does need to do more.
Liberal Party's Deputy Leader, Libby Mattam, said the government needs to back small businesses by ensuring a stable electricity service.
it is essential that government does provide the necessary support to ensure that businesses such as Bruno's can rely on a stable power supply. When our small businesses are supported, that means jobs are supported and services are obviously supported. Small business is the fabric of our community.
Lawyer Lynette Wen says Western Power needs to resolve the situation.
They hasn't taken much action to improve their services, and the business is suffering at this moment. So I think Western Power should act quickly in this matter.
In response to our story, Western Power issued this statement.
A spokesperson from the power company said Western Power has identified that the network disturbance to Mr. Bruno Cristovallo's business is being caused by a neighbouring business. We have had discussions with this business and they have installed a variable speed drive to limit the disturbance caused by their operations. However, as disturbances continue to be logged, WA electrical inspectors will be issuing an electrical inspector's order to the neighbouring company to upgrade its supply to a sole-use transformer, as well as limit their inrush currents until that can be done. You can read the full statement on our website, or if you have a similar issue you would like to cover, you can send us an email. Prime Minister Scott Morrison is back in WA, touring the state in his first visit to the West in 18 months. He's listened to the concerns of WA's communities, including regional towns hit by ex-tropical cyclone Seroja, while pushing the federal government's commitment to the state. Nelson Liu reports.
Back in WA after a long 18 months, a whirlwind visit overdue for Scott Morrison. The Prime Minister landed this week following an absence he claims beyond his control, promising he hasn't forgotten Western Australians. A key feature of the trip, a visit to regional WA, ravaged by ex-tropical cyclone Seroja.
My message to the people of Kalbarri today is that Australia is standing with you.
Government support promised for those affected.
The disaster payments, the recovery arrangements that are put in place that we provide are there to help those communities.
In Perth, the PM addressed community concerns while praising COVID-19 economic recovery and government efforts in WA's GST share and apprenticeships. He recognised 41 troops killed in Afghanistan, revealing Australian soldiers would leave the region this year.
These brave Australians are amongst our greatest ever, who have served in the name of freedom.
As Mr Morrison leaves WA, the state looms as a key battleground for next year's federal election, the coalition needing WA votes to retain government. It's a tight trip for the Prime Minister, lasting only 3 days, but for Perth's community, he's promising he's listening to their concerns. Nelson Liu, WAMN News.
This past Thursday marked 30 years since the Royal Commission into Indigenous deaths in custody, but many says there has been little done to implement the report's findings. Megan Cracker is a director at the National Suicide Prevention and Trauma Recovery Project. She says one step to reducing Aboriginal deaths in custody is raising the age at which children can be charged. It's a proposal that is getting traction. WA Attorney General John Quigley is a proponent, leading a report which recommending lifting the age from 10 to 14.
Children should not be incarcerated at any age, maybe 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 or 18. You know, there's got to be other diversions away from the criminal justice system, because any child incarcerated at any age, it leads on to adult prison, and it leads on to other prison life for the children.
A boost to WA's healthcare system is on the way, with plans for 600 new nurses over 2 years. 300 new nurses will begin work this year, with a further 300 next year, while the state government investigates innovative nursing graduate programs to increase graduate employment. The government says nurses are an important part of the health system, and they need to be supported with more staffing.
The Department of Health has now added an extra 200 positions, bringing the total of 600 newly qualified nurses over the next 2 years. That is 300 this year and 300 next year. This year's extra 300 will be made up of 100 graduate nurses, 100 newly qualified enrolled nurses and 100 graduate nurses for our mental health services.
Changes that shave 10 minutes off a morning commute on the Kwinana Freeway are heading north as the state government turns the Mitchell into a smart freeway. The project will bring ramp signals at 7 on-ramps on the Mitchell between Reed Highway and Vincent Street. Variable speed limits and lane management technology are expected to head off bottlenecks and congestion before they start. Transport Minister Rita Savioli predicts the project will be completed by the end of 2023 and once completed will shorten a trip into the city by 7 minutes.
10 Russian diplomats have been expelled from the United States after the Biden administration sanctioned more than 30 people and companies, accusing Russia of interfering with last year's presidential election and hacking government agencies. Moscow is signalling retaliation against the new sanctions. The latest moves are among the United States' first actions following the SolarWinds breach, with malicious codes hidden in software to give hackers access to intelligence-gathering operations on confidential information.
The Duke of Edinburgh's funeral service took place this weekend after he passed away last week at the age of 99. The Duke's coffin was carried in a dark green Land Rover, with a service held at St George's Chapel in London. Only 30 guests attended the ceremony due to the coronavirus restrictions. Queen Elizabeth II, along with Prince Charles, Prince Edward, Prince Andrew, Princess Anne, Prince William and Prince Harry attended the funeral. White roses and lilies wreath was reportedly selected by the Queen.
Ex-police Derek Chauvin invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and refused to testify in his trial for the murder of George Floyd. Under this amendment, neither the court nor the state can use Mr. Chauvin's silence against him in the case. Tensions remain high in Minneapolis after another shooting incident where a police officer shot Dante Wright after the officer mistook her police pistol for a taser.
Darius, the world's largest rabbit, is missing from his home in Worcestershire, presumed stolen. The Flemish giant rabbit was last seen in his enclosure last Saturday. His family are offering a reward of £1,000 for the safe return of the bunny. The beloved animal measures in at 1.29 metres long, the height of an average Year 2 student. Darius was awarded the Guinness World Record for his size in 2010.
And that's all from us. If you need news at any time, you can head to our website, wamnnews.com.au.
From Sarah and myself, wish you good health, good night, see you next Sunday.
Take care.